Hasan Piker is getting completely destroyed right now. Hasan recently appeared on the Trash Taste podcast, which is one of the biggest anime podcasts. It is hosted by 3 popular YouTubers, Giguk, the Anime Man, and CDawg VA. Many people are really angry that he was invited to the podcast. The dislike ratio on the episode is extremely high, showing how much people dislike him. For reference, I have been making YouTube videos for 6 years, and even my most controversial video has a 90% positive like ratio. But for Hasan's podcast episode to have only 30 to 40% likes is almost unheard of. You have to do something really bad for that many people to dislike you. There is a video by H3H3 called Content Nuke Hasan that explains why people hate him. The video shows in detail why Hasan is considered a bad person. He has been accused of being a terrorist sympathizer and a supporter of harmful ideologies. Many believe that he should not have a platform. I have talked about him before because he spreads a lot of negativity. It is unfortunate that he is one of the most popular streamers today. Hasan has now responded to the backlash. Hasan responded to the situation in the most desperate way possible. He tried to convince his fans to leave positive comments and likes on the video to make it seem like he wasn't controversial and that people actually supported him. However, this plan completely failed, and the dislike ratio kept getting worse. Later, we will also look at Ethan's new video, which he just released while I was discussing this topic. In the video, Hasan is seen laughing at dead children, which is just another example of his behavior. But first, let's start with the Trash Taste podcast episode.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Trash Taste. I'm joined once again by the boys, and we have a returning guest because you're back in Japan now.
Hell yeah, I'm here permanently now. I've decided. This time it's for real.
Yeah, for real?
Yeah, now that my country's on fire, I chose Japan to just stay here.
All right. Whoa. Well, yeah, we got Hasan. He's back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no politics, sorry.
Yeah.
No politics, all right.
Not even 30 seconds into the podcast, and Hasan couldn't stop himself from talking about politics. He is actually a repeat guest on the Trash Taste podcast. He appeared on the show about a year ago, and back then the episode had around 7,000 dislikes with a 90% like ratio. That was still considered controversial, but not nearly as much as this time. I remember being surprised that Hasan was even invited back then because he already had a bad reputation. But now, I'm glad that more people are realizing what kind of person he is. It has reached a point where associating with him is no longer acceptable. At the end of the podcast, Hasan predicted that this episode wouldn't be too controversial. He thought the last one was considered controversial only because of 7,000 dislikes and a few negative comments. However, this time, people were really going to lose their minds.
And I feel like this time is less controversial that I'm on. Now that I've been on one time, they're used to it. So it'll be fine.
We'll still get
We're about to see.
I guarantee there'll be like 5 comments and somebody's like, I can't believe they had him back on.
Yeah. How dare you guys do this again?
Well,
Everyone was in for a surprise because the comment section on the video was brutal. Trash Taste themselves commented, saying that they do not and have never deleted comments on any episode. Many people were accusing them of removing comments because some were disappearing. However, this could be due to YouTube's automatic moderation system, which sometimes removes comments when it detects a large number of people saying very negative things about someone. I understand why people were suspicious. When sorting by top comments, it showed comments from just 15 to 19 minutes ago, which is unusual. Normally, older comments with thousands of likes should be visible, but they weren't there. I should have taken screenshots because some of those comments were really good. One of the top comments said, "Who's next? Are we supporting terrorism now?" Another person pointed out how shocking it was to have a terrorist sympathizer on the podcast, joking that they should have invited Luffy from One Piece as well. This is in reference to a time when Hasan compared a real terrorist to Luffy, which people found absurd. Another user wrote, "You guys finally lived up to your podcast name, Trash Taste. Worst possible guest choice." Many people were so upset that they said they would never watch the podcast again. People might wonder why everyone is mad at the Trash Taste hosts since they are just associating with Hasan. The issue is that people have had enough. They are tired of seeing YouTubers and streamers they actually like, such as the Trash Taste crew or Ludwig, collaborate with and promote Hasan as if he isn't one of the most controversial and disliked figures online. It's not just about guilt by association, It's about how these creators can be okay with being friendly with someone like Hasan, knowing everything he has said and done. It's impossible for them to be unaware since this information is all over the internet. They researched their guests, and they have had him on the podcast twice in a year. They likely received backlash the first time as well. So, how can they justify bringing him back? The only explanation is that they know what he has said, but don't care, because they want extra views. However, this is a terrible strategy, because the only audience they will gain is Hasan's fans, who are not well liked and are seen as a toxic addition to any community. One comment pointed out that Hasan once called Frieren a fascist anime for fascists, questioning why he was even on an anime podcast in the first place. Another comment mocked him for stepping out of his usual online space, saying, "Hasan not realizing he's out of his echo chamber is hilarious." Another user sarcastically said, "Hey, let's invite one of the worst people on the podcast." Hasan's way of thinking is extreme. On one hand, he acts like he is the ultimate judge of justice and morality. But on the other hand, if someone doesn't agree with him, he treats them as if they are less than human and believes that anything bad happening to them is justified. There is a clip of him saying that if someone is from a wealthy college campus, they deserve to be harmed in a terrible way. His views and statements often cross the line, making people question how he still has a platform.
If you have these millionaire, billionaire, WASP fail sons, at least taking them out of other colleges so they can only do date rape to other billionaire, millionaire failed daughters is like, in some respects, you know, from a utilitarian perspective, of course, a little bit better.
Many people in the comments are furious, saying that the company you keep reflects who you are. One person wrote, "Goodbye forever. This dude flat out supported and celebrated terrorists. This isn't something to be ignored. What are you guys doing?" Another comment called out Connor, one of the hosts, for contributing to the division in the anime community. They pointed out how he complains about divisiveness, but then invites one of the most controversial political figures onto an anime podcast. People believe there is no way the hosts were unaware of Hasan's past statements and actions. Some viewers are even hoping the episode gets deleted, saying it's the best thing the podcast can do at this point. One person mentioned that they had watched the Trash Taste hosts before and thought they were decent people, but now they are unsure. They hope the hosts realize their mistake and never associate with Hasan again. Others criticize streamers like Ludwig, calling him spineless for deleting videos just because Hasan told him to. The frustration in the comments is strong, with some sarcastically suggesting that the podcast might as well use a Ouija board to summon historical villains for their next episode. Another person joked, "I thought we were going to watch terrorist propaganda music videos together." Overall, the backlash against this episode is massive, with many people feeling betrayed by the podcast for featuring Hasan. A viral clip of Hasan has been circulating where he shows his friend what he calls a music video. The video actually shows a group of terrorists dancing and shooting AK-47s into the sky. Another streamer, Nick, NMP, reacts in shock, saying, "Dude, this is literally a terrorist video. What are you showing me? How are you even playing this on Twitch?" Many people are baffled that Hasan is still allowed to have a platform despite moments like this. Hasan has responded to the backlash, but his reaction has been widely criticized. He was seen pouting while reading hate comments from his Trash Taste podcast episode. Instead of addressing the criticism, he directed his audience to go and counter the brigade.
Mr. President, the second Piker has hit the Trash Taste. Why would you do this, Hasan? Really? The terrorist endorser? Shame. Too bad. I get irritated from just seeing his face. The guy has said so many profoundly idiotic things that I honestly cannot listen to a word from him. The brigade is on, folks. Get in and actively counter the brigade.
Hasan has become so controversial that even people who don't usually talk about politics don't want to be seen with him anymore. His actions and statements have reached a point where they are affecting his friendships. But in reality, these aren't true friendships. Most people collaborate with him only because he is a well-known influencer with a large audience. They see it as a way to gain more viewers, even though his audience is not one that anyone would actually want. His followers are often described as blindly loyal, almost like a cult. Many of them are either extremely hateful or completely brainwashed into believing everything he says. They don't question him, even when he is clearly lying.
They botted the video immediately. Lol, it's at 2.5k dislikes. You really upset the weebs this time? Yeah.
The way they defend him without reason is one of the closest things to a cult that has been seen in a long time. Some people are trying to say that the huge number of dislikes on Hasan's podcast appearance is just because of bots, as if no real people actually dislike him. But in reality, almost every creator who has ever talked about him has a negative opinion. Hasan's Twitch chat is filled with loyal followers, and if you spend your time there, it's seen as a waste. Some even joke that they would rather have their children be completely unproductive members of society than be Hasan's fans because they believe his influence is that bad. When one viewer told Hasan that he was out of touch, he didn't take it well. He responded as if it was crazy to think that he could be out of touch while a random viewer wasn't. It just shows how dismissive he is of any criticism. Some people are mocking Hasan, saying that he believes all the criticism against him is fake, and that the dislikes on his podcast appearance are just from bots. They sarcastically claim
Useless
that all
members
the
of
views,
society
comments,
then
and
be
watch
modern
time on
day
their own
Hasan fans
videos
because
must
that's just
also
a
be fake
fate
if
worse
that's
than
the
death.
case.
Then we have this next one.
Hasan's
Chatter
only
tells
defense
Hasan
seems
he's
to be
out of
that
touch, which he did
journalists
not
support
appreciate.
him,
The
as if
assumption
that
that
proves
you,
he's
as a
right.
random commentator,
But many
is
people
not out of
dislike
touch, but I
journalists because they
am.
believe
Oh yeah,
they
that
just
has to be
say
so crazy,
whatever
bro.
gets them
Sometimes-
clicks and views. Critics argue that Hasan is just like them, a grifter who says whatever he needs to keep his audience engaged. Some even suggest that Hasan is trapped by his own followers, afraid to say anything reasonable because his audience expects him to be extreme. Some believe that Hasan is now stuck with the extreme audience he created, and that he can't change his stance without facing backlash from his own fans. They joke that he might even be afraid of his followers turning against him. They recall a time when a fan begged him on stream to stop drinking diet soda, as if it were some kind of movement. The fan even said it was okay for Hasan to drink it off camera, showing how performative and fake some of his supporters can be. That was just one moment caught on stream, and critics wonder what kind of pressure and strange interactions he deals with behind the scenes.
Sometimes we'll stare into the darkness on this broadcast. Like, we'll look at like what they're saying, and they just can't comprehend how like journalists are still covering this guy in a positive way. What the f is going on? And it's like, dude, why do you think like a 40-year-old journalist has no political convictions of their own? Like, you think they're going to be deluded by like a drama farmer on YouTube, like a slop tuber, and be like, wow, this is a real bad guy?
Hasan struggles to handle criticism and dismisses anyone who disagrees with him as just a rabid hater. He refuses to acknowledge any valid points made against him, even when creators like A3A3 or Willie Max Show have compiled detailed criticisms. Hasan often claims he doesn't watch critical videos about him, yet he still wants to debate the creators behind them. Critics argue that he should at least research the points being made against him instead of bragging about ignoring them. There are countless reasons why people dislike him, and organizing all the evidence would be a huge task. Some even suggest making a 10-hour video exposing everything, believing it would go viral because of how much controversy surrounds him. Hasan refuses to accept reality, even when faced with overwhelming dislikes and criticism. He dismisses anyone pointing out his flaws as delusional. Some critics are relieved that more people are finally seeing his true nature, though it took something extreme, like bringing a controversial figure onto his stream, for many to realize how unhinged he can be. Despite the backlash, Hasan denies being considered a laughingstock and insists that no normal person sees him that way. He also defends himself by pointing out that he is one of the most popular streamers on Twitch, as if popularity alone proves his innocence or credibility. Critics argue that this is flawed logic, as being popular does not automatically make someone a good person.
You think they haven't seen internet harassment campaigns before? You are so out of touch, holy hell. No, brother, I'm not the one who's out of touch. The people that are going, we hate you because we think this person is an evil person, me, okay? We think your friend that you know better, okay, is actually secretly an evil person because we've seen YouTube videos from rabid haters, is an active line of attack.
Hasan accusing others of being in an echo chamber is ironic, given that he actively silences any opposing views in his chat. He bans anything resembling dialogue or disagreement, Because in a cult-like environment, everyone must blindly agree with him. Instead of encouraging people to watch critical videos and form their own conclusions, he dismisses them outright, claiming they are full of lies. A more reasonable approach would be to let people watch the content and decide for themselves. But Hasan discourages that, operating like a cult leader who controls what his audience consumes. At this point, many see him as an internet punching bag rather than a serious political commentator. His audience remains largely because American politics has become so radicalized that people cling to figures like him, despite his many controversies. People often stick to their side in politics, even if their chosen leader or influencer is completely unhinged. That's why Ethan initially partnered with Hasan. They were both left-leaning, so he assumed they would get along. However, that's not how it works. Some people are far more radical than expected. And eventually, Ethan realized that associating with Hasan wasn't worth it. Ethan had to choose between blindly supporting his side or maintaining his morals and critical thinking. The breaking point was Hasan's response to the war in Gaza, which made Ethan distance himself. Despite many warnings that Hasan was too extreme, Ethan still teamed up with him. But over time, Hasan's behavior became more unhinged. And eventually, Ethan got the message, leading him to create a full expose on Hasan. There are a few things to point out here. First, Hasan's popularity is more of a reflection of society than anything else. Second, Twitch as a platform is not in a good place. Its CEO, Dan Clancy, has been exposed for making questionable decisions and holding strong political biases that influence bans and platform policies. He has been accused of supporting extreme opinions and even artificially inflating numbers for certain creators, including Hasan. Many have been predicting that Twitch is on a downward spiral. If you're still streaming there, it's not a smart move. Multi-streaming or switching to YouTube is a better long-term option. Twitch's current direction is unsustainable, and it seems ridiculous that they continue to allow Hasan on their platform. What's even funnier is Hasan's response to criticism. He claims that he could have made a content expose himself, as if that somehow dismisses the points being made against him. Ethan Klein says that Hasan claims he could make his own expose video about Ethan, but chooses not to because he doesn't care about drama, even though he believes it would get millions of views. Ethan responds sarcastically, pointing out that many people have made a lot of money criticizing his former podcast co-host. He then dismisses Hasan's claim, implying that he doesn't actually know how to make such a video.
You're like a 40-year-old dude on Twitch right now being like, you're the one who's out of touch, Hasan, because in spite of the fact that you are one of the most popular content creators on Twitch, I still think, me and my homies think you're a bad guy. And the more you don't realize that other people don't see it the way that you do, the more you just make up conspiracies in your mind. You can say womp womp all day, but the real womp is happening to you.
You don't know how to make a video. When have you ever made one? You don't create content. You just sit on your stream, saying the most unhinged things to your extremist audience. You rile up supporters of radical views and jobless people who obsess over American politics. You couldn't make a proper video even if you tried. Go ahead, I dare you. I'd love to see this so-called expose on Ethan Klein that you think would end his career. If it's anything like your political arguments, you'll get destroyed. You're a joke, pretending to be some kind of boogeyman who could ruin someone's career with a single video. You can't even do proper research, your logic doesn't function, and you have no chance. Hasan claims he doesn't engage in drama, but where does he draw the moral line? He's okay with interviewing controversial figures, laughing at tragic events, and making insensitive comments, but he refuses to engage in drama content? It's hard to believe he's a real person. He seems like an AI program designed to make people outraged, and it's working. Normally, I don't get heated in my videos, but this guy really gets on my nerves. Ethan recently released another video where Hasan is seen laughing at a tragic event involving children. It's just another example of his behavior. In one instance, a terrorist group kidnapped a family, leading to the deaths of children. Their coffins were carried around while music played, and Hasan laughed at it, implying they deserved it. His chat echoed the same sentiment, with no moderation to control such extreme takes. In another case, a hostage was forced to kiss members of the group on stage. Hasan took this as proof that they were being treated well, ignoring the obvious fact that the person was likely forced to do it at gunpoint. Later, the hostage even admitted they were coerced, but Hasan still pushed the idea that they were treated well. At this point, It feels like Hasan is openly supporting extreme views. I wasn't even planning to make a video this week, but this guy annoyed me so much that I had to come out of hibernation. If you dislike Hasan, make sure to check out this video. See you next time. Take care.